one or two or three people under the bus.
The state has refused to cover the legal costs of former Public Enterprises Minister Malusi Gigaba. His legal representative told the Johannesburg High Court today that a decision has not yet been made on whether to appeal that ruling or not. Gigaba sought financial assistance from the state on the basis that the corruption charges he faces relate to alleged conduct during his tenure as a minister. His lawyer, Nicholas Kuri, explains.
So we feel that being a representative of the state, working for the state, that you're entitled to legal financial assistance. We made that application through the formal channels. As you heard in court, we got a rejection to that proposal as of yesterday. So we now need to sit with our client and consider our position, and that will pave the way forward on whether we're going to take the decision on review.
Gigaba's 5 co-accused in this particular matter, former Transnet executives Anush Singh, Siyabonga Kama, Brian Molefe and others appeared in court today. The corruption case against them is linked to a multi-million rand Transnet trains tender scandal. They face charges of fraud, corruption and money laundering, with allegations that they manipulated processes at the cost of the state. We take you now to a story which contains some disturbing details. The woman convicted of murdering and raping her boyfriend's 4-year-old daughter is being cross-examined by the state today. Amberly Hughes is on the stand in the Joburg High Court for mitigation of sentence. She was found guilty of the death and sexual assault of 4-year-old Nada Jane Chalita in 2023, Ndogozo Khumalo reports.
Today marks the 4th consecutive day of the sentencing procedures at the High Court. The court yesterday heard of a detailed account of the events that transpired before the murder of the little girl Nada Jane Chalita. Hughes told the court that she was pushed to this extreme point due to Eli Chalita's alleged abuse and infidelity. She went on to detail that she believed that if she left the relationship, there would be nothing left for the child.
And at that moment, I thought that the only possible way out of everything was to take Nada's life and my own life. I felt like Nada wouldn't have a future without me. She would be neglected and she wouldn't progress without me.
It is understood that the father of the slain child, Eli Chalita, will be taking the stand later on in the proceedings. Ndogozo Khumalo, Eyewitness News, Johannesburg.
Suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrach Sibiya claims he was framed regarding allegations that seek to link him to alleged criminal kingpins. Testifying at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria today, Sibiya made specific reference to the testimony of embattled crime intelligence boss Dumsani Khumalo. Khumalo previously presented evidence of CCTV footage showing a police sergeant, Fani Nkosi, driving a state vehicle, a white BMW, and collecting a gift bag from the home of Katiso KT Molefe in Sandhurst in 2024. Khumalo alleged that the vehicle was registered to Sibiya's office and that Nkosi worked under him, but Sibiya disputes this.
The white BMW in question was only assigned to my office on 4 August 2025. I attach here to a diary entry made on the very date the vehicle was received, marked SS32. The entry record not only the receipt of the vehicle, but also its condition at the time.
And a South Korean court has sentenced former President Yoon Suk-yeol to life behind bars. It follows his declaration of martial law in the country in 2024. Yoon abruptly declared martial law in a televised address, saying drastic measures were needed to root out anti-state forces. The announcement triggered widespread panic in a nation that is seen as a beacon of democracy in Asia. He will be jailed in South Korea's overcrowded prison system. It's not yet clear when he will be eligible for parole, but most inmates serving life terms can typically apply after 20 years. Gold is trading at $5,007.04 an ounce. The rand is at 16.15 to the dollar, 21.81 to the pound, 19.06 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $70.35 a barrel.
Well, at this stage, if you're leaving the Edenvale, Kempton Park area heading towards Bedford View, there's slow-moving traffic on the R24 westbound. That's between Edenvale Road and the Kilulis interchange, while in the Mother City, there's slow-moving traffic due to an accident seen in Lansdowne on Jan Smuts Wits Drive approaching Lansdowne Road, and there's also slow-moving traffic. This is on the N3 southbound between Princess Anne and Newlands Avenue.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 29 and 30 degrees, while Cape Town is partly cloudy with a fresh southeasterly wind at a high of 27 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Emergency service teams are currently on the scene of a bus crash which claimed the lives of 5 people in Limpopo this morning.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. You're with Mandy Wiener on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
Coming up on the show today, Shadrach Sibiya tells the Madlanga Commission he is being framed. We'll look at the presidential employment stimulus plan amidst pressure on the presidency around youth unemployment. The state refuses to pay Malusi Gigaba's legal fees. Several die in a bus crash in Limpopo. And we'll bring you an interview with international crime writer David Baldacci. All of that over the next hour.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app. DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Report on 702 and Cape Talk with me, Mandy Wiener. Good to be with you today. Sure, terrible news coming out of Limpopo, as you heard in the lead story in the Eyewitness News bulletin there. A bus crashing in Limpopo this morning. It was en route to Zimbabwe from Johannesburg when the accident occurred. We'll check in with the community safety in Limpopo traffic people as well. The pathologists are on the scene. The figure at the moment is that 5 people have died, over 30 people have been injured as well. So often we see this in Limpopo. So unfortunately that's happened yet again. We'll try and bring you the latest on that. Hey, if you like crime fiction, I did a fabulous interview with the international crime writer David Baldacci. I've read his books over the years. I've just finished the latest one. It's called Nash Falls, and there's a new one coming out in April. So he's chatting to us about that, but also some interesting parallels around South Africa, the criminal justice system, crime, corruption. We'll cover all of that. That'll be in our book feature towards the end of the show today. You can send us a WhatsApp voice note, 072 702 072 567 1567. But we start with the Madlanga Commission today, where the Deputy National Commissioner, Shadrach Sibiya, is back on the stand. And look, we've been waiting for this. We've been waiting to see how Shadrach Sibiya will respond to all of the allegations against them. Essentially, what he's saying is that this is all a political conspiracy, that he is being framed, but now he's coming with his own ammo, with his own evidence against the people who have accused him, and he's dropping some bombs as well. So let's find out what's been happening there earlier today with Oren Singh, EWN reporter, who's in our Joburg studio. Oren, good afternoon to you. Firstly, let's just go through the framing, the conspiracy stuff. What does he say is behind this?
Mandy, just before we start with that, I just wanted to alert you to some breaking news that's come to our attention. There's been a shooting at the home of the former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe in Hyde Park.
I saw that there was a shooting. I saw that Vision, I think it was Vision Tactical,
Yes.
put up a tweet about that, saying that there was a shooting and they were responding.
We understand that an employee of the home has been shot, is in a critical condition. We don't want to make any more comments about who may have done the shooting, but police are on scene. Ambulance are there attending to the victim, and our reporters are on their way there.
Okay, so just tell us, this is the house of the...
Robert Mugabe's son.
Okay.
In Hyde Park.
Sure.
Yeah. So police are attending to that. We'll have more developments in the story coming up.
We do like to get some breaking news, not when somebody's been wounded, obviously, but thank you for interrupting regular programming. I did see on Twitter that security had been responding. I didn't say anything about it because I wasn't sure what it was yet, but I saw in Hyde Park that's where this has happened. We'll try and get some more clarity on that. Okay, let's park that for a second. I mean, it's just a great example of crime and what we're dealing with here with the level of crime in South Africa. Shadrach Sibiya, what's he been saying?
Well, this morning, Shadrach Sibiya has maintained his go-ahead from where he started yesterday on the defense, trying to defend himself and sort of distance himself from the main allegations that have been put up against him. One of the main things he's focused in on is that vehicle, that white BMW that we saw a certain Sergeant Fani Nkosi arriving at Katiso Katie Molefe's home in Sandhurst in 2024. The allegations that were initially put out to the commission by the head of crime intelligence, Dumisani Kumalo, was that white BMW had been assigned to Shadrach Sibiya's office. Shadrach Sibiya is countering that claim, saying that no, that white BMW was only assigned to my office in August 2025. So essentially saying that he's got nothing to do with that vehicle, distancing himself from that meeting between Sergeant Fani Nkosi and Katie Molefe. Also throwing other people under the bus, if I could put it that way. General Sentumule, Hilda Sentumule, is acting in his position as the Deputy National Police Commissioner for Crime Detection. He says that she has a very questionable relationship with Kat Matlala. He's just said and told the commission that General Sentumule invited Kat Matlala to SAPS's Service Excellence Awards. And as part of that invitation, she accepted a donation of 10 refrigerators from Kat Matlala that they would sponsor to the officers that won at those Excellent Service Awards. So I think a lot of questions being raised over General Sintumule's head as from what Shadrach Sibiya has been telling the commission this morning.
It does seem like he is now coming with his own ammo.
It does seem to be, and not only ammo, I think he's coming with some files, because while we haven't really focused in on it too much, he has presented the commission with evidence in his statement, referring to certain annexures in his statement, claiming that there's this trail of emails or there's this WhatsApp conversation, even going to the extent of playing a 4-minute recorded conversation he had with General Sentumule. I'm not sure when that conversation took place, but in that conversation, General Sentumule kind of telling him, this is unfair to you. General Mkonazi and Dumisani Kumalo are working together. They're being hypocrites, but this is a whole sort of game that they're trying to nail you on. And he played that recording, that 4-minute telephonic conversation with General Sentumule before the commission this morning.
Okay, so that testimony continuing at the moment. Oren Singh, thank you very much for that. Shadrach Sibiya currently giving evidence there. Let's take a listen in now, and this feed is courtesy of Newsroom Africa.
Consultations, so it never could come as a surprise because it wasn't just a shock.
Yes, but I want to probe further. We've heard you say that, but I want to understand from you that one of the reasons you say it wasn't a surprise is because it was foreshadowed in the Midday report. And when you first referred to the Midday report yesterday, I asked you to take us to the part of the Midday report where it speaks about disbandment, and then we didn't dwell on it because we said we would return. And I'm returning to it now. So if we could just go to the Midday report.
What file is that, Ms. Hassan? File?
June 2025.
76.
File 2A. I think Commissioner Kumalo is helping us. 776. Let me know when you're there, General.
Yes, I spent time last night. I marked it, and I marked the relevant sections that I know that maybe the evidence is referring to. So I just want to get to that point. Just bear with me.
So that's Shadrach Sibiya. Sorry, a lot of page turning going on there, as is wont to happen at the Madlanga Commission. But Shadrach Sibiya being taken through his evidence there at the Madlanga Commission.
702.
702.
Mandy Wiener.
Weekdays 12 to 1 p.m.
So 2 breaking news stories we're following for you. The one from Orange Singh is the shooting that's taken place in Hyde Park, it seems, at the home of the late Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe. The other is a story that has just broken now out of the UK. Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, has been arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Police saying he's in custody and officers are carrying out searches at various addresses. Photos are showing cars arriving at the Sandringham estate in Norfolk earlier this morning. Let's try and listen in quickly to the BBC to hear how they're reporting this.
That the police are going to be turning up where you live in Norfolk and arresting you. And so that does give the police an element of surprise. It does allow them to carry out searches, to seize documents and records. And therefore, although Andrew Mountbatten Windsor may have been prepared for this moment for some weeks since the release of the Epstein files, and perhaps before that, he hasn't been given any forewarning at all that this was about to happen. So there will have been a reason for that the police have taken that action rather than inviting him to be interviewed under caution.
How does this police investigation affect what the MPs? There was a committee that was going to be looking into this as well. What happens to that now?
Well, I think any other inquiries that are being undertaken by a committee, parliamentary committee or MPs really effectively has to be put on hold. The police investigation has to take primacy. Of course, MPs can do some work and they can make inquiries, but they cannot possibly be releasing any information into the public domain or interviewing potential witnesses while this is going on. The police investigation has to take primacy over any other inquiries, and it's very important that nothing is put in the public domain that could prejudice those inquiries or influence court proceedings in the future. You know, should this matter ever go before a jury, for example, very important that there's nothing in the public domain that could compromise those proceedings. So I expect that the police investigation will proceed and that everything else will take a back seat.
So that's the BBC at the moment as it's reporting that Prince Andrew has been arrested, police arresting Andrew Mountbatten Windsor.
702.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Let's walk the talk.
Back to local news now, and if you were watching the debate in the State of the Nation address yesterday, you would have seen the EFF MP, Sihle making quite a dramatic gesture in Parliament. He handed over a box of CVs to the President, saying it's a symbol of the millions of unemployed young people in South Africa, saying that the EFF will rally the youth to deliver CVs daily to government offices until the job crisis is addressed. We know there's huge youth unemployment in South Africa. Sihle, the EFF MP, joining us now. Sihle, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time. What was your intention and the message you were sending to the President?
Very good afternoon to you, Mandy, and the listeners at home. I think the most disheartening thing is the attitude that this government has against the crisis of joblessness amongst young people. I mean, you've got a Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources who says that young people are not willing to stand in long lines and look for jobs. They are just sitting at home. I think the expression he used, they bask in the sun. You've got a state president that almost points a finger and becomes a principal and says, look, in my time, I used to do door-to-door looking for a job, or insinuating that the youth of this country is not doing enough to look for jobs. So clearly, the policy position of this government is that the problem is not that there are no jobs. The problem is that the youth are not putting in enough effort to go and look for jobs. So part of what we wanted to raise at that national stage yesterday was to bring about that paradigm shift, to say that it is a lie that the youth are lazy. It is a lie that they are refusing to stand in long queues and long lines to look for jobs. It is a lie that they are not submitting CVs. And of course, we did that symbolic gesture of those odd 400, 500 CVs we had. Then we made a commitment to say, because you don't take this struggle of youth unemployment seriously, we're going to rally the youth of South Africa to deliver CVs to the union buildings, to parliament, to government buildings, to Gwede Mantashe's head office, as well as publicize their email addresses so that we can spam their emails, so that they can start to appreciate how big of a magnitude this problem of youth unemployment is in South Africa.
The presidency has issued a statement in response to comments made by the former Statistician General Paddy Lahotla about youth unemployment and the presidential employment stimulus plan. Do you think that enough is being done through the presidential employment stimulus plan? They said they've created 2.5 million work opportunities over its span since 2020. Is that sufficient?
The presidential youth employment, the YES program, it's a scam. It brings in young people in these jobs that don't have security. They come in, they do these 2 months, 3 month internships. They place them as teachers' assistants. I mean, teachers' assistants right now, if you speak to them, a lot of them have not even been paid since last year. The president stands up in the State of the Union address, State of the Nation address, and then celebrates EPWPs. I mean, we know what they do in our communities with EPWPs. Whenever there's an election cycle, they'll call a group of young people, they put in hundreds. They are so brazen. You know, I once listened to what councillor say, look, we're going to put in 100 for 3 months. And then in the next 3 months, we're going to remove this 100 and put in another 100. And then, so they rotate. So, you know, you're employed for 2 months, then you're unemployed. So there's no plan or solution to resolve the structural problem of unemployment, which of course will include you have to grow the economy, you have to industrialize, we need factories back, we need to revitalize the special economic zones, we need to ensure that we upskill the young people and respond to the demands of the economy. So the YES program, I mean, the former States General, is quite correct. It's a lie, and they always abuse this term of job opportunities. Why are they not saying jobs? The people want jobs. Stop playing around with words saying, no, we're creating job opportunities. No, unemployment has decreased by 0.1% or 0.3%. What they are actually not telling the people of South Africa is that if you look at the expanded definition of unemployment, it's close to 50%. Because when the States General calculates unemployment, they only count people who've been looking for jobs over the past 4 weeks, over the past month. So we've got what are called discouraged workers. So these are people who they've been looking for jobs for 2 years, for 3 years, for 5 years, until they lose hope and sit at home. They don't count them when they celebrate the drop in unemployment. So the former State General is correct. It's a scam. The presidency should hang its head in shame for trying to celebrate the YES program.
Sikhle, thank you very much. Sikhle Lonzi, EFF MP, speaking to us there. Well, let's unpack exactly what the presidential employment stimulus plan has been doing and whether the EFF says it's a scam. The presidency has put out the statement in response to Paddy Lahotla's comments saying that it has created jobs over its tenure. It has created 2.5 million work opportunities. Dr. Kate Phillip is the program lead for the presidential employment stimulus plan and joins us now. Dr. Phillip, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time. How successful has the YES program been over its inception since 2020?
So, good day all. I only caught the end of the last speaker, but I do have to correct some fat lies.
That's why we have you on.
Firstly, I don't represent the YES program, and this is one of the misunderstandings. There are a number of different employment programs. The YES program is specifically targeting the private sector to fund one-year placements, and that is what they are. I don't speak for YES, but I can correct that. That is a private sector program that places young people in private sector jobs for a one-year placement. That is distinct from the presidential employment stimulus, and the presidential employment stimulus is distinct from other public employment programs also. The employment stimulus began in the context of COVID, when we had a jobs bloodbath, and there was a need for a mass employment strategy to try and mitigate the huge social damage that was being done. Nobody is suggesting that public employment programs are the solution to unemployment, or that we don't need all the things that people are talking about. We need structural reforms that unlock the dynamism in our economy that can create sustainable jobs. Until that happens, as a society, do we just wring our hands and stand back and say there's nothing we can do? No. What we can do as a society is create what we call public employment, publicly funded employment that keeps people in the labor market, that gives people work experience, that gives people opportunities. No, these are not permanent jobs. Yes, they are time defined. That doesn't have to mean that they're meaningless jobs. So, for example, our biggest program is the Teacher's Assistant Program. It has a 96% approval rating from teachers, and there's not a lot that teachers agree on that much, actually. Similarly, from school principals, it's made a huge difference in schools. Last year, it placed just under 200,000 young people in 23,000 schools. We have the evidence from a study by Wits University that in the Eastern Cape, those teachers' assistants were able to improve learning outcomes in relation to phonics, learning the alphabet, which in turn is the foundation of reading for meaning. These are not just make-work jobs. These are creating real social value that is contributing to the society. In the employment stimulus, for example, in our Social Employment Fund, which supports NGOs and non-state actors to do more of the excellent work they are often already doing in communities. We support work for the common good, which includes support to ECD, for example. That program supports over 18,000 ECD facilities, 500,000 kids. We support informal settlement upgrading. We have supported through that program over 1,500 Wi-Fi hotspots in informal settlements, and we can show the data that shows 1 million distinct users. The multipliers from that, economically, socially, I could go on, and if you let me, I will.
No, I'm about to jump in, but I think it's important that you do respond to what the EFF is saying, which is why I've allowed you to do that. And what the presidency says is that the problem is not that young people are not seeing these jobs, or the jobs don't exist. It's that the scale is far below the scale that we actually need.
Exactly. And we've seen budget cuts year on year since our height in 2023, when we were able to create 600,000 jobs in that year. We're at half that scale now. And I think the key issue with the budget coming up is there sufficient public support for these programs for us to see them expand? And so gratuitous and incorrect and false allegations against these programs are just really not helpful. The thing about this, the teachers' assistants not being paid is absolutely untrue. We have the audited data. We pay directly digitally into bank accounts, and we can verify and validate that people were paid. Yes, there were some glitches because it was the first time digital payments had been done, and uploading 23,000 schools for digital payments was no mean feat. But we did it, and we did it successfully, and everybody has been paid. And that's audited and can be demonstrated. So these are just false allegations.
How do you scale this then? Or is this not the solution? The solution is actually we just need economic growth and we need the private sector to create more jobs.
We absolutely need economic growth. The sooner the better. This is a social... this is a social intervention to deal with the impacts of unemployment on our society and communities. It is not the solution in and of itself, but it is part of a package. It also has a range of multiplier effects, as I tried to highlight, and the spending from these programs in communities helps build local economies. So there are a range of multipliers from these programs that contribute to creating jobs in the informal sector, for example, to creating more sustainable livelihoods at the local level. So this is not just a form of relief, although it contributes to that as well. But this is absolutely part of an integrated strategy, the core of which has to be the structural reforms that unlock dynamism in our economy, that create sustainable jobs in the private sector, so that the economy can stop failing the society.
Dr. Kate Phillip, Program Lead at the Presidential Employment Stimulus Program. Thank you so much. Real insight and clarity there, I thought. I'd love to hear what you think about that, having listened to the EFF and then listening to Dr. Kate Phillip as well. Send me a WhatsApp voice note, 072-702-1702, 072-567-1567. 12:30, time for Eyewitness News headlines.
Thanks, Mandy. Good afternoon. We begin with breaking news. A shooting has occurred at the home of the son of former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe in Hyde Park today. EWN understands that an employee of the family was shot and is in a critical condition. Medical personnel are currently attending to the victim while police are on the scene. In another breaking news story now, but in the UK, police have confirmed the arrest of former Prince Andrew on suspicion of misconduct in public office. The arrest comes after police confirmed they were assessing a complaint over the alleged sharing of confidential material by the former prince with late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The former prince, who turns 66 today, has consistently denied any wrongdoing. And in Limpopo, work is underway to extract a bus which crashed this morning from a ditch. Officials say 5 people have been confirmed dead so far, but the number may increase after the bus has been brought back up to the road. Preliminary reports indicate the driver lost control of the bus and it veered off the road. The exact cause of that accident will be subject to an investigation. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 1 or as it happens.
EWN Sport.
Good afternoon, I'm Anthony Teixeira. The Proteas will be in a Super 8 group which will feature 3 of the 4 teams being group winners at the T20 Cricket World Cup in the first phase. West Indies, the latest side to finish unbeaten in their group after picking up a 42-run victory over Italy. Player of the match, Windies captain Shai Hope scored 75 as they posted 165 for 6. The bowlers then backed up that performance as they bowled the Italians for 123. Sharma Joseph taking 4 for 30. Meanwhile, Zimbabwe has a chance to make 4 group winners in our group as they're alive against the co-host Sri Lanka and Colombo in a battle for top spots in their group. It is Sri Lanka at the crease on 105 for the loss of 2 in the 14th over after winning the toss and electing to bat. Still to come, Afghanistan and Canada will bow out of the competition this afternoon. Live action at the Wanderers in the 4-day Cup final. The Lions bowled the Warriors in the first innings for 305. King and Herman with centuries, while Vian Mulder and Porchita claimed 3 wickets apiece. In live action there, we have seen the Lions reach 46 for 2. That's back in the pavilion. Hendricks and Hamza for 4 and 6 respectively. In football, Nottingham Forest have a Europa League playoff first leg to play in Turkey against Fenerbahce this evening. Or last night in the UEFA Champions League first leg playoffs, there were wins for Newcastle, Leverkusen and Bodo Glimt, while we saw 3-3 between Club Brugge and Atletico Madrid. Stellenbosch ended 1-1 with Magesi in the Betway Premiership, while Mamelodi Sundowns claimed a 2-1 victory over Orlando Pirates in the top of the table clash. It's seen the Brazilians move 3 points behind their rivals, while Arsenal squandered their chance to move 7 points clear of Man City at the top of the Premier League. They had eased to a 2-goal lead over Wolves, only for them to choke and end up drawing that 2-2. And in tennis, Carlos Alcaraz will have a Qatar Open quarterfinal clash against Karen Khachanov this afternoon, while Yannick Sinner faces off against Jakub Mens. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, if you're heading towards Roodepoort, that's leaving Soweto, you can expect heavy delays. This is on the N1 northbound, approaching Albertina Sisulu due to an earlier accident in Irene, Pretoria. Also, bumper traffic. This is approaching the intersection of Nomapiers Drive and Main Road in the Mother City. Accident scene in Lansdowne. This is slowing down traffic on Jan Smuts Drive approaching Lansdowne Road. And there's also bumper traffic on the elevated freeway heading into the Cape Town CBD. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-7021-702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a work commuter. She's done this route 1,000 times. Perhaps she's daydreaming of a different job or just counting down to the weekend. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just another car in traffic. It's anticipation on the move. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
The safety and well-being of learners is a shared social responsibility. Parents and guardians play a critical role in ensuring safe, reliable, and lawful scholar transport. Parents are therefore urged to take responsibility for the following. Before entering into any scholar transport arrangement, parents must satisfy themselves that the operator uses vehicles with valid roadworthy certificates and operating licenses, and that the driver holds a valid professional driving permit, PDP. By working together, parents, operators, and authorities can protect learners and build a culture of safety on our roads. Issued by the National Department of Transport.
This is financial year end. This is financial year end supercharged with the help of Zero Small Business Accounting Software. This is you talking to your accountant or bookkeeper. This is you talking to your accountant or bookkeeper with the help of Zero Small Business Accounting Software. So supercharge your business with the help of Zero and blast past financial year-end stress. Try Zero free for 30 days. Terms apply. Search Zero with an X.
Think radio is out of reach? Think again. With Prime Media Credit, you can get your brand on 947, 702, KFM 94.5 and Cape Talk now and pay later. Flexible finance, big impact. Email advertise@primemedia.co.za. Prime Media Credit, powered by Bridgement.
Small businesses are anything but small. They're the backbone of our communities, the dreamers, the doers, the ones who keep Mzansi moving forward. That's why 702 and Capitec Business Banking are putting them in the spotlight. Every Thursday between 6 and 8 p.m., catch Small Business Focus with Capitec, where we showcase the hustle, heart, and the secrets to thriving in today's economy. Your vision matters, and with Capitec, you're never building it alone. Small Business Focus with Capitec, the business bank for everyone. Thursdays between 6 and 8 p.m. on 702. Capitec Bank is an authorized FSP 46669.
And now, it's back to Mandy Wiener on the Midday Report.
This is 702.
Let's walk the talk.
12:38 on the Midday Report. Western Cape Premier Alan Winde is challenging government to redirect more than 4.2 billion rand that it spends on VIP security for politicians to the police's anti-gang units. Let's unpack this with the Western Cape Premier, Alan Winde, who joins us now. Premier, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time. You've got detective vacancies. There's a lot of budget required, and you're arguing that this should come from VIP security.
Well, I mean, I've been arguing for more resources to the police, and I've been arguing for devolution of powers. I've been arguing for a lot of things. But the problem is, in reality, that the police are getting less budget. The number of officers are less than they were in 2019. And when I go on the ground and I know that we've got vacancies, I've got nearly 1,000 vacancies in detectives. When I go on the ground and I speak to citizens, the first thing they tell me is every time there's an arrest, the person's back on the street within 24 hours or 48 hours. We don't have the systems to get the dockets in place that actually keep them behind bars because the criminal justice system is failing. And it all starts really with investigators and the anti-gang unit. So then I went to go and have a look at how they are resourced and where they are resourced, and then also myself on the ground. I mean, I was in the Kraaifontein police station the other day. Their investigators or detectives have got one computer that sits in the captain's office. He actually, in 2026, still prints it out on a piece of paper and takes them their email if they get an email. They don't. Any of them have phones. In the Khayelitsha police station, there are at least 5 phones between nearly 100 investigators or detectives. I think they've got 28 vacancies, but they've at least got 5 phones to share. But how are you supposed to do your work if you haven't got the wherewithal or the technology and you've got all these vacancies? And then I went to go and look at how much money they have. And, in the whole budget, there's no line item that says the anti-gang unit has got a certain budget. The only thing I can find is from a question in Parliament to the Minister about what is the anti-gang unit's budget. This is the operational budget, and it's 34 million. I mean, against 4.2 billion to protect politicians and 34 million to protect the residents or the citizens, especially those that are facing the murder rate that is coming on the back of extortion and gangsterism.
Premier,
it's a joke.
With the budget coming up, do you have any avenue? Do you get to say to the finance minister, hey, we would like more money for this?
We do through our finance forum, and we do through the Lekgotla, which happened a few weeks ago. I mean, at the Lekgotla, my wording there was, the rule of law is falling to pieces, and we've got it because they were talking about the cigarettes and what the illegal cigarettes are doing and causing job losses, and then they would have a discussion on people who were in the country without the proper paperwork, or they would talk about the illicit liquor industry, and I said to them, this is all about the rule of law. And the rule of law is complex, of course, but it's about values, it's about how citizens behave, but it's also about the policing and the consequences. And we do not resource the policing, we do not resource the consequences, and in actual fact, we don't enable the system to catch those culprits. We actually enable them to get away. We have less than 5% conviction rate when it comes to gangsterism and extortion. I mean, that is unacceptable. So then if you go and look at why, well, we're not resourcing the people. I mean, I'd hate to be a detective who's responsible to, investigate a criminal activity, investigate the shooting of that young girl 2 days ago, that 9-month-old child in Athlone. My job is to investigate it, but I haven't even got a phone. I mean, that is just unacceptable. So the best thing to do is go and have a look at, well, who does get protected? Well, quite frankly, we do, the politicians. We've got police protection all over the place. Well, let's give it to the people.
Alan Wendy, Western Cape Premier, thank you very much, making the case there for why the money, 4.2 billion rand spent on VIP security for politicians, should rather go to the police's anti-gang unit.
This is financial year end. This is financial year end, supercharged with the help of Zero Small Business Accounting Software. This is you talking to your accountant or bookkeeper. This is you talking to your accountant or bookkeeper with the help of Zero Small Business Accounting Software. So supercharge your business with the help of Zero and blast past financial year-end stress. Try Zero free for 30 days. Terms apply. Search Zero with an X.
The average person will hear their boss say, quick one, 3,476 times during their life. And it's never a quick one. In fact, it's a very long one that forces you to cancel your anniversary dinner at the restaurant with the Michelin star chef and then work through the weekend only to arrive on Monday and be told that the client has decided to go in a different direction. Oh, life taxes you. So invest tax-free from as little as 250 Rand per month.
Coronation. Trust is earned. Coronation is an authorized FSP.
From your pet's bowl
to Belito, bro.
Or Barcelona. Maybe Bordeaux?
How about Brazil?
Or Butts, Betty's, Baviance, Bella Bella, or even Benoni. Buy any Hills pet food and you could win one of 10 holidays worth 200,000 Rand each. Or take the bucks. Scientifically proven formulas for your pet. An adventure for you. Hills Pet Nutrition. Science does more. T's and C's apply.
South Africa's youth face a real crisis, with 8.8 million young people between the ages of 18 and 35 not in education, employment or training. But there's a solution. SA Youth is the country's largest free online youth recruitment platform, connecting employers to over 4.5 million young work seekers. Join Sharmi Suryanarain, Chief Impact Officer at Harambee Youth Employment Accelerator, on The Money Show with Stephen Curtis next Tuesday from 7:10 p.m. as she shares how SA Youth is breaking barriers, supporting over 3,000 employers and powering entry-level opportunities across all sectors. Only on 702.
702.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Let's walk the talk.
12:44 on the Midday Report. Let's get you a quick update now on this terrible bus crash that has occurred in Limpopo. A bus traveling to Zimbabwe crashing earlier today. Matome Tauya is the Limpopo Transport and Community Safety spokesperson. Matome, good afternoon to you. Tell us what we know about this incident.
Good afternoon, Mandy, and good afternoon to the listeners of 702. And I like the way you pronounce my surname, not many can do. Yes,
I took a quick lesson and I've been practicing.
No, thank you very much for taking an effort. Yes, this morning at around 4:30, there was an accident that occurred on the N1, I think 400 meters before the Ingwe Lodge, the popular spot where last year we had the same accident which took about 44 lives around October. You see, the accident happened at the same spot, at the cave, just a few minutes away from Ingwe Lodge. For now, we can confirm that 5 people have deceased from this accident. With about 4 of them were declared dead on the scene, and the other one was declared dead just as he was about to arrive in hospital.
Oh, Matome, thank you. We just wanted a quick update there. I appreciate you telling us what's happening. Matome Tauya, who is the Limpopo Transport and Community Safety spokesperson.
Different sounds, different worlds.
Different artistic expressions, music, art, and fashion collide. Are you coming? Let's go to the place where the beat drops, the fashion pops, and the art rocks.
We're talking Focalistic, Daliwonga, Mafigi Zolo, Kurt Darren, Matera Doughboy, Zoe Mujija, Claire Johnston from Mango Groove, the Tswani Gospel Choir, and more. Mahindra Fusion Fest, Saturday 7th March, Sunbet Arena. Tickets on Ticketmaster now. See you there.
Let's be honest. Africa could be doing way better. But complaining won't change anything. Getting involved will. If you care about Africa's future and want to be part of something that disrupts the status quo, then this is for you. Download the Our Platform app, which focuses on problem solving, global competitiveness, and self-love. Africa is changing the narrative. Don't get left behind. Download Our Platform. Say hello to the new look Africa.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a couple stealing glances at each other. In a week, their lives will change forever as they exchange their I-do's. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a love story on the move. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
702 and Cape Talk.
Book of the Week.
On Thursdays in the Midday Report, we usually speak to the author of a local non-fiction book. Now we're turning that completely on its head and we're speaking to the author of an international fiction book. David Baldacci is one of the world's most celebrated thriller writers. Nash Falls is the book that I've just read by him. His new one is coming out in April. It's called Hope Rises, and he tells the stories of extraordinary transformations of characters who undergo unimaginable circumstances. So not often we get to interview an international crime writer. Of course, I grabbed the opportunity and take a listen to David Baldacci.
Let's talk about Walter Nash, who, of course, is your main protagonist in both Nash Falls and Hope Rises. A very ordinary man, successful, comfortable, predictable, and then he becomes a hero, even though he never anticipated becoming a hero. Tell us a bit about him and what the appeal was for you. You often write about action heroes, and he is almost a reluctant hero.
He is, yeah. I sort of wanted to build Walter Nash in the theme of you've done everything right your whole life. You've gone to school, got a good education, worked your butt off for 20 years, made a lot of money, have a comfortable life. That's what people say, that's the American dream, right? So you've done all that, and then it all gets taken away, and you have no control over it at all, which I think a lot of people feel that way right now with AI and other things happening in the world where you've done everything, and then it's all taken away. So what do you do now? well, you have to pick yourself back up. And as people keep telling us today with AI and everything else, you have to reinvent yourself into something brand new that can compete on the world stage in the way that the world is now. And I thought Walter Nash was sort of a great theme of that. So he had no choice but to become someone he never wanted to become in order to survive and also avenge his family as well. And it wasn't just a great thriller idea, I thought, but it's sort of, I wanted people to connect with this character. And I think a lot of the readers have gotten back to me, email and personal appearances, and said, yeah, I really feel this way about my own life. I thought I would have, a pretty decent life, and now all of a sudden I have to change and become someone else. And so they really connected with that on another level.
Nash loses everything: his career, his identity, his security. What is he driven by? Is it about survival, revenge, rediscovery?
I think it's all of those things, but also something else. He's refusing to give up his core identity, I think. And his core identity really are his morals, his principles and his values. I can cover him over with tattoos and muscles, but the inner core of the guy still has to be there somewhere. There has to be the same empathy that he had beforehand, and the same love and respect for other people, which I think you see in his character, regardless of what I did to the exterior of him. So I think really he doesn't, while he's become Dylan Hope, he still has vestiges of Walter Nash. And I don't think he ever wants to let that go, because once that's gone, there is no more Walter Nash.
Many of your novels look at corruption and the highest levels of power. Now, I'm not sure if you know much about South Africa, but we have really had our own painful reckoning with corruption. It's endemic in the country. We've had state capture, institutional failure. Why do you think stories about political corruption resonate so strongly across different democracies?
Well, I think that people, particularly these days when we live in a very highly conspiratorial, atmosphere, with online stuff and people going down rabbit holes, absolute power corrupts absolutely. My very first novel was about a corrupt American president who thought he was above the law. That book came out 30 years ago. People make poor gods, and once you give them a little bit of power and influence, they tend to go crazy with it. And I think instinctively people know that if I were in that position, I would probably be tempted to do bad things as well. So when those things happen, it's almost like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I knew this was coming. I knew these people were going to be bad and corrupt and steal from us. And people, I think, they want to see in books, which maybe they don't see in real life, these people held accountable. Because oftentimes the corrupt people in the real world are not held accountable. They go off and they take the money with them. They live a great life, in isolation where you can't go and extradite them. But in books like mine, for the most part, they are held accountable. And I think people are seeking in fiction what they can't find in real life.
Well, that couldn't be more true in South Africa, where accountability is a very foreign concept. So that really does resonate. And a result of that for us is public trust in institutions has really been shaken. So do you think that stories and the ones that you write play a role in maybe restoring public confidence?
I think, in restoring public confidence in institutions is vital, because look, here's what happens. If people lose confidence in those institutions, really institutions are a bunch of people, who have some power and influence over the people's lives. Then if you lose confidence in the courts and in the legislative body and all that, it often, and historically this has been proven out, we also turn to, we'll turn to the executive, and the one person who can make it all go away, who can make it all right for us, a strong authoritarian figure. And that's always been very seductive. I mean, when America was formed, there weren't any democracies. Authoritarianism was all the rage. There were monarchies everywhere. And we were self-governing, which people just didn't do back then. But democracies are really fragile. And we're finding that out right now in this country. People lose faith in their institutions. We're having the same problem here. And all of a sudden people are like, we need one strong person to take care of us, and that is a very, very dangerous term.
And for me, in many ways, Walter Nash or Dylan, it shows how ordinary people confront systems that are stacked against them. And it's something we really grapple with in South Africa, is inequality and access to justice.
I think individuals are far more powerful than they think they are. I mean, I would take one person who has, fire in the belly and a beating heart and, a desire to do something positive over a legion of politicians, who supposedly have great power. because what they don't have is a heart. They only care about themselves. And I think only real progress comes from people working outside of themselves, working for other people truly at the end of the day, and not just wanting to accumulate a lot of wealth and power for themselves, which a lot of politicians unfortunately do. So the individual has a lot more power than they think they do. And when you get a collection of individuals coming together for a good purpose, I think that's real strength and can make vital changes. We've seen that in every country on earth. Those things can happen. So I think Walter Nash sort of represents this one guy out there who's a David versus Goliath, and nobody's giving him a chance. But guess what? He's pecking away, and he won't go away. He's tenacious. He's going to stay there until the end. Whether he wins or loses, he's going to be there at the end.
We are really drawn to these characters who embody this idea of resilience in the face of adversity, because that's something that we really can relate to in South Africa. What draws you to characters who come from difficult backgrounds and are challenging powerful forces?
Well, when I was born in Virginia, racial segregation was illegal in the state where I grew up, and black and white were totally segregated. And I was told that was the way the world should work and should be. And unfortunately, we see a lot of that coming back. I was just reading some tweets by some very wealthy people in the world who, you can't say anything other than it's white supremacy. So coming from that, what saved me were books. Books allowed me to travel the world without a plane ticket or a passport. And I met people from everywhere. So, racists come to me and say, you should be afraid of people who don't look like you. And my response to that was, I've met hundreds of them in books. And guess what? They're just like me. So your argument doesn't work. It's lost all its power against me. I've never forgotten that. So the sort of books that I write about are sort of like me as a little kid growing up in a world that I was told should be one way. And I figured it out, it should be the other way. And my books try to tell people that lesson over and over again, because as years go by, people tend to lose that memory of what is really right and what is really wrong. And people around us are influences trying to tell us, no, this is the way the world should work. Everybody in power should look one way. They should be one sort of person. And you know what I'm saying? And my job is to sort of write books that combat that and to show people that the individual people, no matter where they come from, we all share a common core of humanity. And I think that's a lesson we can't ever forget, because if we do forget it, bad things are going to happen.
It's interesting, David. Crime fiction is hugely popular in South Africa. And considering we have such a high crime rate in the country, why do you think societies that face real world crime and instability are so drawn to thriller novels like yours?
Well, I think it's the little kid who knows there's a boogeyman under his bed, and he doesn't want to look, but then he looks to make sure it's either there or not there. We like the safe scare. Nobody wants to be the serial killer for real, but if you're curious about serial killers, you can meet them in my books and other books and have a safe scare from a distance. Understand what makes that person tick, understand how that person can be confronted by the law, and hopefully understand how that person can be arrested or held accountable. And you're never in jeopardy yourself. Human beings are curious about people like that. We're curious about people who commit crimes. Like, what separates me from somebody who has gone out and killed 20 people? We have the same human body, we have the same human brain. What makes that person so different? And crime fiction sort of gives you the answer to that from a safe distance.
So you haven't been to South Africa. It's on your bucket list, you say. This may be a bit difficult for you, but if you had to set a thriller in South Africa, what themes or dynamics do you think you might look at?
Well, I think that, every country has a different identity, but there are similarities among lots of different countries. And one I've always found, because I've worked in politics, I have a lot of friends who are politicians. And once you get a little bit of power, guess what? You want a little bit more. And guess when you get a little bit of money, guess what? You want a little bit more. So the themes that I would write about if I were in South Africa, I would find things that are localized and that are sort of endemic there that people would understand and relate to and sort of and connect with. But the themes would be largely the same, but they would have a South African flair inside the country. But as I said, Shakespeare wrote pretty much everything we can write about, and we just sort of make derivations from what Shakespeare has written about. People are still jealous and petty and angry and violent and adulterous and all those other things. We write, fresh, changes and fresh angles in those types of stories. So I think what works here, what works in England, what works in China, what works in Russia, would work in South Africa as well, because people largely are the same and they're interested in a lot of the same things. I would give it local flares, but I think I could write stories that would be compelling.
I'm sure you could. And you've got a great fan base here, so you're always welcome. We've got plenty of fodder for you.
Thank you very much.
Plenty of fodder indeed. The international crime writer David Baldacci.
On average, you'll spend 83,200 hours working. That's 3,466 days. 20% of that time will be spent in meetings that should have been emails. 10% spent aligning on the misalignment the previous meeting caused. And the rest of the time, waiting for your laptop to update so you can resend that extremely urgent presentation due yesterday because your boss forgot to download it 2 weeks ago. And now, the link has expired. Oh, life taxes you. So invest tax-free from as little as 250 Rand per month.